The stars stretched endlessly across the void, glittering like distant fires in a black sea. In that vast emptiness, the Zerath fleet glided silently, their sleek ships cutting through space with perfect precision. They had traveled across countless systems, mapping worlds, assessing resources, and claiming territories. The galaxy had grown accustomed to the Zerath's dominion. No species could match their technology, their strategy, or their confidence. Captain Zorath of the flagship Eclipser gazed at a small, pale blue dot in the distance. "Target identified," he said, his voice calm but filled with certainty. The system designated Sol, uninhabited, primitive, an easy claim. The council aboard the Eclipsar murmured in agreement. If the reports are accurate, these creatures have not yet developed space travel. Their technology is crude. They will surrender quickly. Zorath allowed a small smirk. "We offer mercy, but only because it will save time. Resistance is unnecessary." And so, the Zerath prepared to descend upon Earth, unaware of the force they were about to encounter. On Earth, life continued in its familiar rhythm. Cities bustled, machines hummed, and humans moved through streets and fields unaware that the eyes of an empire watched from the dark void above. Scientists at observatories noticed unusual energy readings, faint disturbances rippling through the solar system. But they had no explanation. Military radar detected strange objects moving through the asteroid belt, but they were dismissed as anomalies. Even as the signs grew clearer, humanity carried on, resilient and accustomed to surviving the harshest conditions their own world could offer. From frozen tundras to scorching deserts, from turbulent oceans to thick, suffocating jungles, humans had learned to adapt. They had built shelters that could withstand storms, clothing that protected them from extremes, and cities that could endure earthquakes and floods. Survival was in their nature. It was woven into the very fabric of their species. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the first Zerath scouts approached undetected. Their translucent hulls reflected the sun in shimmering streaks, giving them the appearance of celestial predators. Within these vessels, the Zerath discussed strategy and observed humans with detached curiosity. "Primitive," one remarked, "yet curious. They may entertain themselves with machines, but they are fragile. No resistance should arise." "Fragile," countered another. "We have not witnessed their homeworld. Reports suggest conditions are extreme. Perhaps there is more to them than we expect." Captain Zorath shook his head. "Their planet is insignificant. Extreme conditions have not saved any species before. These humans will bend to our will." The Zerath Council decided to send emissaries first, offering humanity a chance to surrender before they deployed weapons of war. Mercy, they called it. It was a mercy extended from a position of absolute power, one they expected humans to accept without hesitation. On Earth, government leaders received the message with a mix of shock and disbelief. The broadcast was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. A massive alien vessel hovering silently above major cities, a clear display of power and a calm voice speaking in perfect translation. "People of Earth," the voice said, resonating across all communication channels. "You have been observed. You inhabit a planet at the edge of known space. Your technology is primitive, your military weak. We offer you the chance to surrender. Compliance will ensure your survival. Resistance will bring annihilation." Across the globe, citizens froze. Children clutched their parents' hands. Scientists whispered urgently among themselves. Soldiers checked their weapons, though they knew these fragile tools could not match the alien technology above. Governments debated furiously. Some urged compliance, hoping diplomacy could save lives. Others argued for resistance, though they had little idea how to fight an enemy so powerful. Meanwhile, deep underground, humans had already been preparing. Not for alien invasion, perhaps, but for the harshness of their own world. The death world conditions of Earth, storms, earthquakes, volcanic activity, and chemical hazards, had shaped humanity into survivors. Generations of struggle had honed their reflexes, their ingenuity, and their willpower. Where most species might falter, humans adapted. Where others might surrender, humans endured. Scientists and explorers began gathering data on the alien fleet. They marveled at the ship's design, the technology that powered them, and the sheer scale of the armada. But they did not despair. Humans had always found ways to turn challenges into advantages. The most extreme environments had taught them resourcefulness. and resourcefulness would now become their greatest weapon. Communities in remote areas noticed unusual phenomena. The skies flickered with strange lights. Electronics behaved erratically, and natural patterns seemed to shift. Farmers in deserts watched as storms moved with unnatural precision. Miners deep underground felt vibrations that did not match any seismic activity they had known. The planet itself seemed to respond to the approaching threat, as if it recognized that its children, the humans, were about to be tested. As the emissaries landed in designated zones, the Zerath expected a quick resolution. Humans would submit. It was obvious to the aliens. Resistance was futile. Yet when humans approached the landing zones, the Zerath encountered something entirely unexpected. Men and women, armed with nothing more than tools and ingenuity, moved forward with steady resolve. Scientists carried data pads, engineers wielded custom devices, and soldiers, though outmatched, stood firm. There was no panic, no begging, only calm, focused determination. The Zerath could not comprehend it. Why did they not plead? One asked. They should be terrified. They should beg for mercy. A human representative stepped forward, eyes clear, voice steady. We wish to understand your intentions, he said. We will cooperate where we can, but know this, we will survive. That is what we do. The Zerath stared, unaccustomed to such defiance. They expected fear, tears, and immediate compliance. Instead, they saw humans who seemed almost untouchable, grounded in a strength born of their planet's extremes. Back in the cities, people watched as the emissaries and their human counterparts interacted. Rumors spread quickly. These humans, they don't act like ordinary creatures, whispered one observer. They are fearless. In laboratories and training grounds, humans prepared quietly. Emergency shelters were reinforced. Makeshift defenses were tested. Engineers modified existing technology to function under extreme stress. Communities shared knowledge, passing lessons learned over centuries of surviving harsh winters, scorching summers, and natural disasters. The preparations were instinctive, born of a species accustomed to fighting for life on a planet that never gave it freely. Even children seemed to sense it. In playgrounds, schools, and homes, they spoke of courage and survival. Stories of past hardships, plagues, storms, famines were retold with pride. The human spirit, honed by Deathworld challenges, was ready to face the new threat from the stars. As the Zerath observed these preparations, they grew uneasy. Subtle signals, engineering feats, rapid mobilization, and the calm resolve of the population hinted at an unexpected complexity. The council debated whether their strategy needed adjustment. Captain Zorath remained confident but cautious. They are adaptive, he admitted reluctantly, but no species can withstand our technology. Yet the humans continued, undeterred. They conducted simulations, practiced coordinated maneuvers, and reinforced natural choke points. The forests, mountains, and deserts were studied for tactical advantage. Scientists discovered unusual energy patterns, perhaps natural to Earth, which could be amplified for defense. Every effort reinforced one truth: humans were shaped to survive. And so, as night fell across Earth, the alien ships hovered silently above. The planet below was alive with preparation, innovation, and determination. One small blue world, long considered weak, was quietly awakening. Its children, its Deathworlders, were ready to show the galaxy that survival was not just a chance, but a skill honed over millennia. The stars above glimmered, indifferent, yet watchful. The Zerath believed they had mercy to offer. The humans, forged in fire and ice, would soon reveal the meaning of true strength. And somewhere in the deserts, the mountains, and the deep oceans, the first stirrings of Earth's counterattack began. Not out of anger, but out of instinct, intelligence, and the unyielding drive to survive. The arrival had begun, but the story of Earth's Deathworlders was only just starting. The massive Zerath ships hovered silently above Earth, their metallic hulls glinting in the sunlight. From the sky, they looked like predators waiting to strike, and many on the ground could not believe their eyes. Yet for all their size and technology, the aliens remained still, observing, waiting for the humans to comply. In city centers, humans gathered around screens, radios, and any device capable of broadcasting the alien message. The Zerath emissaries spoke again, their voices calm and commanding, reaching every corner of the globe. "People of Earth," they said, "your world is weak. Your weapons are primitive. Surrender now and we shall spare your species. Resist and your planet will face destruction." Governments responded quickly, sending messages of compliance, offers for discussion, and requests for proof of the aliens' intentions. On the streets, people whispered fearfully, unsure what would happen next. Children clung to their parents, pets whined, and emergency services braced for chaos. Yet beneath the fear, a quiet determination stirred. Humans were no strangers to struggle. They had survived ice ages, earthquakes, hurricanes, and disease. They had built shelters in mountains, dug tunnels beneath deserts, and tamed rivers in storms. Survival was not a choice, it was their nature. And instinctively, humans began to prepare for the unknown, even as emissaries landed in designated zones to begin talks. In the first landing zones, humans approached cautiously, but without panic. Scientists carried instruments to measure the alien technology. Soldiers, lightly armed, observed the surroundings carefully. Civilians, volunteers, and engineers came together in small groups, ready to help in whatever way they could. The Zerath emissaries expected fear and desperation. What they found instead were humans standing tall, calm, and alert. They did not beg. They did not tremble. Their eyes were clear, their expressions steady, and their bodies ready for action. "Curious," muttered one Zerath observer. "They show no instinctive fear. No panic, it is unnatural." Captain Zorath, watching from the bridge of the Eclipsar, frowned. "It is not unnatural. They are weak. They will comply eventually. Observe, do not overreact." But as the days passed, the Zerath began to notice unexpected behavior. Humans tested the emissaries' vehicles. They walked close to energy shields without hesitation, and some even reached out to touch alien instruments, studying them with careful attention. They adapted to the alien presence faster than any species the Zerath had encountered. Across the planet, humans began using their environment to their advantage. Mountainous regions provided natural observation points. Deserts offered open spaces to monitor enemy movements. Forests and jungles allowed hidden observation posts. Even cities with their complex structures became training grounds for tactical planning. Teams of engineers modified equipment to withstand unusual energy readings emitted by the Zerath. Communications experts developed methods to jam non-essential signals while leaving only critical information intact. Scientists studied alien energy patterns, predicting when and where their ships might move next. Military leaders, though initially overwhelmed, realized that the humans' natural adaptability could be leveraged. Small squads trained in survival skills were deployed to strategic points. They learned to move through forests silently, traverse mountains with ease, and use natural hazards, rivers, cliffs, and storms, to confuse any aggressive patrols. The first skirmish occurred unexpectedly. A Zerath scout ship attempted to land near a desert city, expecting no resistance, but humans had already prepared. They had learned to observe, to predict, and to act with precision. Using modified equipment, they disrupted the scout's landing systems, forcing the ship to hover instead of descending. Soldiers and engineers worked together, not to destroy, but to test limits. Humans approached cautiously, touching the ship and studying its technology. The Zerath, shocked by the audacity, tried to drive them back with energy pulses, but the humans adapted. They shielded themselves with natural terrain, improvised reflective panels, and even sandstorms whipped up by human-engineered devices. Captain Zorath watched in disbelief as humans survived without protective suits or conventional defenses. "They should not be able to endure this environment," he said. Yet they persist. On the other side of the planet, other humans observed alien patrols with keen interest. Teams of scientists recorded movement patterns, learning how ships reacted to terrain. Farmers and miners volunteered to guide soldiers through caves, tunnels, and hidden passages. Even children participated, not in combat, but in observation, pointing out unusual patterns, helping map safe paths, and learning the ways of their planet. The Zerath emissaries attempted to intimidate humans with displays of power, flashes of energy, hovering ships, and low-frequency vibrations. Yet humans adapted. They learned to recognize patterns, predict movements, and avoid danger. Where the aliens expected fear, they found calm calculation. Where they expected panic, they found resourcefulness. It was becoming clear. Earth was not a simple world. Its inhabitants were not simple beings. The harsh environments that had shaped human evolution had produced creatures capable of enduring anything, adapting to everything, and surviving when all odds seemed impossible. As days turned into weeks, the Zerath began to discuss their concerns. Some argued for immediate domination. "We cannot allow such defiance to persist," one counselor said. "They are primitive yet unnaturally resistant. Eliminate them before they learn more." Captain Zorath disagreed. "Patience," he said. "Observe. Learn. Humans are interesting. Their resilience is remarkable. But they are still primitive. We must not underestimate them, yet we do not need to act rashly." Meanwhile, humans continued to adapt. Underground bunkers, long used for natural disasters, were modified to serve as command centers. Tunnels and caves allowed secure movement across regions without detection. Engineers experimented with energy and magnetic fields, learning to manipulate alien technology to their advantage. The planet itself seemed to participate. Storms shifted in unusual ways, creating natural cover. Rivers changed course slightly, allowing humans to move undetected. Volcanic activity and seismic tremors, though minor, were studied and used strategically. Humans had learned to read their world like a living map, turning natural hazards into tools. Then came the moment that changed everything. A group of human explorers, scientists, and engineers decided to venture close to a landing Zerath ship. They carried no weapons in the traditional sense, only devices designed to study and survive. When they reached the edge of the ship's landing zone, the aliens attempted to push them back with energy pulses. Humans responded with calm intelligence. They shielded themselves with portable panels, used terrain to absorb impact, and moved with precision. In a matter of hours, they had studied nearly every aspect of the landing platform, identifying weak points and patterns in alien behavior. The Zerath emissaries were astonished. They had expected fear and begging. Instead, humans showed neither. They observed, adapted, and learned, all while maintaining control of their movements and their environment. Captain Zorath realized something important. "These humans," he admitted quietly, "they do not fear us. They do not plead. They do not surrender, and they learn faster than expected." The council grew uneasy. "Could it be possible that Earth is stronger than we assumed?" one whispered. The idea was almost laughable, yet with every passing day the humans proved it to be true. On Earth, the message was simple among humans: observe, adapt, survive. Schools and communities participated in emergency drills. Citizens volunteered for observation, mapping, and engineering efforts. Soldiers trained in new tactics, combining guerrilla strategies with survival knowledge. Scientists continued to study alien technology, even as they remained cautious. It was clear to everyone that this was not a war they would fight with conventional weapons. The battlefield was the planet itself. The tools were human ingenuity and adaptation, and the strategy was rooted in understanding both the enemy and the environment. And as night fell across Earth, humans gathered quietly in homes, bunkers, and mountain outposts. They shared stories of survival, of facing harsh conditions and emerging stronger. The young listened, learning the instinct of endurance. The elders offered wisdom, guiding preparation with knowledge from generations of surviving extreme conditions. Above them, the Zerath continued to watch. They had arrived expecting easy victory. Instead, they found a species unlike any they had conquered before. Humans did not plead. Humans did not beg. Humans prepared, observed, and adapted, ready to survive whatever came next. And so, as the stars blinked coldly above, the first contact had already shifted the balance. Earth's Deathworlders were awake, alert, and united in ways the Zerath could not yet comprehend. The battle for the planet had not begun in full, but the contest of will, intelligence, and survival had already started. The galaxy might have thought humans were weak, primitive, and fragile, but the humans of Earth were ready to prove otherwise. Days turned into weeks, and the Zerath emissaries continued their observations, sending regular reports back to the fleet. The council aboard the Eclipsar grew uneasy. Their initial assumption, that humans were weak, primitive, and easy to conquer, was proving dangerously incorrect. Every attempt to intimidate or overwhelm the humans failed. Captain Zorath stood on the bridge of the flagship, his expression tense. "Their survival skills are beyond what we expected. They adapt to every challenge we create. Extreme temperatures, radiation, even zero-gravity exposure. Humans endure and find ways to use it." A counselor hissed. This is absurd. They should crumble under the slightest pressure. Why do they not? Zorath shook his head slowly. Because their planet shaped them that way. Their world is a death world. Every generation has survived conditions that would destroy most life. And now we are learning the result of that survival. On Earth, humans continued to observe the alien fleet. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked together in small mobile teams. They studied alien patrol routes, shield patterns, and energy emissions. The more they learned, the more they discovered ways to use the planet's environment to their advantage. In the deserts, small teams experimented with creating sandstorms to interfere with the ship's sensors. In mountainous regions, humans used sheer cliffs and hidden valleys to hide observation points. Deep in the forests and jungles, engineers rigged natural traps that could delay or divert enemy movement without direct confrontation. Even in cities, civilians participated. Electrical grids were rerouted to create temporary interference. Communications were coded to prevent interception. Vehicles and drones were modified to act as distractions or decoys. Humans were not only surviving, they were learning, adapting, and preparing. The first major revelation came when a team of scientists and explorers ventured into an ancient network of caves beneath a volcanic region. These caves had existed for millennia, long before humans had built cities. The explorers discovered natural energy nodes, crystalline formations that seemed to store and amplify energy. Dr. Elena Vargas, a lead scientist, studied the formations with awe. These nodes, they can enhance our technology, she explained. We could amplify signals, generate energy shields, even disrupt alien sensors. The team quickly realized the potential. By connecting their devices to these natural nodes, humans could boost their capabilities far beyond conventional limits. The planet itself became a partner in their defense, offering resources that no alien technology could replicate or predict. Meanwhile, the Zerath scientists observed these developments with growing concern. They are not only enduring, one said, they are using their environment against us. No species should do this. No species should be able to survive our tests and grow stronger at the same time. Captain Zorath spoke firmly. They are unusual, yes, but they are still primitive. Their weapons are weak. Their structures are fragile. We must remember this. Observe but do not panic, yet even as he said it, the reports continued to arrive. Humans surviving unprotected in storms of electrical discharge, navigating treacherous volcanic vents and exploring underwater chasms that would have killed other species. Their resilience was extraordinary. The more the Zerath tried to predict human behavior, the more unpredictable it became. Back on the surface, humans began to implement what they had learned from the caves. Teams connected energy nodes to experimental shielding devices. Small squads trained in navigating hazardous zones, learning to move through lava fields, dense forests, and submerged tunnels with ease. Engineers developed mobile platforms that could store energy, creating temporary safe zones in otherwise deadly areas. Military leaders worked closely with scientists. They designed strategies that used the planet itself as a weapon. Rivers could be dammed temporarily to create barriers. Sandstorms could hide troop movements. Mountain paths could funnel alien patrols into predictable routes. Every feature of Earth became part of a larger plan, a demonstration of human ingenuity combined with survival instinct. Even civilians contributed. Farmers provided knowledge of terrain and weather patterns. Miners guided teams through underground networks. Teachers and students helped map safe routes and emergency shelters. Humanity was working as a unified species, turning the planet's death world conditions into advantages that the Zerath could not anticipate. One day, a group of human engineers tested an energy shield near a volcanic vent. The experiment was risky. The heat, ash, and electrical activity could have destroyed unprepared individuals. Yet the team succeeded. The shield not only protected them from environmental hazards but also interfered with a nearby Zerath scout ship, forcing it to retreat. "This is it," Dr. Vargas said, her voice filled with excitement. "We are beginning to fight back even without weapons. The planet itself is our ally." News of the success spread quickly among human communities. Morale soared. People realized that they were not helpless. They were not victims waiting for mercy. They were Deathworlders, born to survive, adapt, and overcome. As the humans grew stronger, the Zerath began to realize the danger. Captain Zorath called another council meeting aboard the Eclipsar. "We underestimated them," he admitted. They are adaptive, resilient, and remarkably intelligent. And now, they have discovered ways to enhance their abilities using their planet. A counselor protested. They are still primitive. They cannot possibly pose a threat to our fleet. Zorath shook his head. Primitive or not, their resilience is unmatched. They are unpredictable. They endure conditions that would destroy most species, and they are learning, adapting, and using their world to their advantage. We cannot ignore this. On Earth, the human teams continued to push boundaries. Scientists experimented with energy amplification from the crystalline nodes. Engineers built mobile observation units that could move through forests, mountains, and deserts without detection. Soldiers trained in coordination with scientists, learning to move silently, anticipate alien patrols, and use the environment strategically. Children and civilians learned too. Schools taught emergency drills not as games but as real preparation. Families worked together to map safe routes, study terrain, and understand environmental hazards. Every person contributed in some way to the larger goal, survival and defense. The humans were no longer passive observers. They were becoming active participants in a struggle they had not sought but were now fully engaged in. The Zerath, observing from above, grew increasingly frustrated. Every display of power was met with adaptation. Every attempt to intimidate was countered with ingenuity. Every expectation of fear or pleading was met with calm calculation. Humans did not beg. Humans did not flee. Humans observed, learned, and responded. Captain Zorath realized a sobering truth. They may be primitive, yes, but they are lethal in ways we did not anticipate. Their survival instinct. It is unlike anything in the galaxy. We cannot crush them with fear. We must reconsider our approach, the Council murmured uneasily. Plans for immediate domination were delayed. Instead, they resolved to study humans more carefully, to understand the planet and to anticipate the unpredictable. Yet even as they planned, humans continued to evolve their strategies, building defenses, creating energy shields, and learning to manipulate the environment like skilled tacticians. One night, deep in a volcanic cave, Dr. Vargas and her team observed the largest energy node yet discovered. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. By connecting it to a shield generator, they created a zone where humans could survive the most extreme conditions. Searing heat, toxic gases, and high-pressure eruptions. This changes everything, Dr. Vargas said. We are no longer just surviving. We can move through environments that would have killed any normal species. We can resist the aliens, and we can fight back in ways they cannot anticipate. Outside, storms raged. Rivers shifted and mountains cast long shadows under the moonlight. Humanity was awakening stronger than ever. The Deathworlders were learning to use their planet itself as a weapon, and their determination only grew, and so, as the Zerath fleet continued to hover above Earth, expecting easy submission, humans quietly prepared. They had discovered that their greatest weapon was not firepower or technology alone. It was the combination of their survival instincts, adaptability, intelligence, and the harsh, demanding planet that had forged them. The galaxy might have expected them to plead. It might have expected them to beg for mercy. But Earth's Deathworlders did neither. They adapted, learned, and prepared, ready to face the invaders on their own terms. The revelation was clear. The humans of Earth were not weak. They were not fragile. And they were not helpless. They were Deathworlders, shaped by extreme conditions, and ready to defend their home against any threat no matter how advanced. The first contact had shifted the balance of expectation. The aliens thought they would find easy prey. Instead, they had found a species that could endure anything, think beyond limits, and turn survival itself into a weapon. And somewhere in the forests, deserts, mountains, and oceans, humans were already planning the next step, preparing for a confrontation that would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of their determination. Earth was no longer a simple blue planet. It was a fortress, a crucible, and a proving ground. Its inhabitants, the Deathworlders. The sky above Earth darkened with the enormous shadow of the Zerath fleet. Ships filled the horizon, glinting coldly in the sunlight, their enormous forms stretching across the stratosphere. It was a display of power intended to intimidate, to crush morale before the first shot was fired. The aliens believed victory was assured. They had faced countless species across the galaxy, and none had withstood even a fraction of their strength. But Earth's Deathworlders were ready. Across deserts, mountains, forests, and cities, humans moved with precision, discipline, and courage. Soldiers, engineers, scientists, and civilians all played their part. What the Zerath did not understand was that this was not a battle fought only with weapons. This was a battle fought with ingenuity, adaptability, and survival instinct, honed over millennia on a harsh, unforgiving planet. The first clash occurred in the desert regions of North America. A squad of humans had prepared a series of traps and diversions to delay the advance of a scouting fleet. Using sandstorms whipped up by powerful turbines and natural gusts of wind, they obscured visibility. Portable energy shields, amplified by the underground crystalline nodes, blocked detection systems and reflected alien sensors. Zerath scout ships, expecting little resistance, were caught off guard. Their weapons fired blindly into the storm, striking nothing but sand and dust. Humans, hidden behind dunes and rocky outcrops, observed every movement, noting patterns in ship navigation and shield behavior. Small squads moved in synchronized formations, striking at weak points and retreating into the cover of the desert. Captain Zorath, watching the reports on his bridge, frowned. They are faster than expected. They are organized, coordinated, adaptive. This is not weakness, this is strategy. In the mountains of South America, humans used their terrain to perfect advantage. Narrow passes and sheer cliffs funneled alien patrols into predictable routes. Engineers had placed energy disruptors along hidden paths, causing ships to hesitate, stall, or miscalculate. Soldiers trained in mountain climbing and survival moved swiftly, striking with precision and vanishing into caves or hidden valleys. The Zerath attempted to adapt. They deployed drones to scout the terrain, and their energy weapons cleared some obstacles. Yet the humans anticipated every move. They had studied the enemy patterns meticulously, combining knowledge of their own environment with observation of alien tactics. Every trap, diversion, and hidden path was a calculated measure. The mountains, volcanic vents, and forests became extensions of human strategy. Meanwhile, in the oceans, humans used a different approach. Submarines, modified for stealth and equipped with energy amplification devices from the crystalline nodes, monitored alien ships attempting orbital strikes near coastal cities. Scientists and sailors coordinated to create magnetic disturbances that interfered with ship sensors. In some cases, natural currents and underwater trenches amplified these effects, turning the ocean itself into a barrier and a weapon. The Zerath fleet found themselves frustrated at every turn. Their advanced technology could not anticipate the adaptability of the humans. Every environmental hazard, storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, rivers, was leveraged against them. Every city, forest, and desert became a potential stronghold, and every human became a tactician, thinker, and survivor. The largest confrontation occurred in the volcanic region where humans had discovered the largest energy node. The Zerath, realizing that humans were using the planet itself to amplify their capabilities, sought to neutralize the threat. Several ships attempted to descend directly onto the node, intending to destroy it and eliminate the human advantage. But humans were ready. Using knowledge gained over weeks of observation and preparation, teams deployed a coordinated defense. Energy shields amplified by the node itself protected key positions. Lava flows and steam vents, natural features of the region, were turned into barriers and hazards for the aliens. Engineers had also set up reflective panels to confuse targeting systems. As the Zerath advanced, humans struck from hidden positions. They did not attack with conventional weapons. Instead, they used the environment, controlled eruptions, volcanic ash clouds, and seismic vibrations to disrupt alien systems. The ships, unprepared for such tactics, struggled to maintain stability. One by one, they were forced to retreat or hover, unable to achieve their objective. Captain Zorath, observing the failed assault, muttered under his breath, "They are impossible." Across Europe and Asia, humans coordinated simultaneous defenses. Cities became labyrinths of traps and diversions. Bridges and tunnels were rigged with energy pulses that temporarily disabled alien navigation. Rooftop teams used drones and portable shields to confuse sensors. Forests, long considered passive by the aliens, were now alive with observation posts and rapid response squads. Even the smallest communities contributed. Farmers guided patrol teams through fields, teaching them ways to use crops, irrigation systems, and natural terrain to their advantage. Miners led soldiers through hidden tunnels and caves, Teachers and students mapped safe evacuation routes while simultaneously observing alien activity, feeding intelligence back to Central Command. Every person played a role, demonstrating that the strength of humanity was in its unity and adaptability. The Zerath fleet attempted to overwhelm human coordination with sheer firepower. Massive energy beams cut through forests, and smaller ships fired pulses across deserts and mountains. Yet humans had anticipated these moves. Portable energy shields combined with natural barriers absorbed and redirected attacks. Diversions and decoys caused misfires, and the planetary energy nodes amplified protective fields, creating zones where humans could operate freely while alien systems malfunctioned. Captain Zorath convened an emergency council. Their survival instinct is unparalleled. They do not flee. They do not surrender. They use the planet itself as a weapon. This is not resistance, it is evolution. Adaptation perfected. Another counselor interjected, they are primitive. Surely they cannot sustain this. Zorath shook his head. Their planet has forged them into something we have never seen before. We underestimated them. We cannot fight their will to survive, and we cannot predict every adaptation. Proceeding recklessly will cost us dearly. As night fell, humans continued to press their advantage. Coordinated squads moved silently across forests, deserts, and mountains. Engineers monitored alien energy readings, predicting movements and creating countermeasures in real time. Soldiers struck with precision using shadows, terrain, and mobility to outmaneuver larger ships. In coastal regions, tidal forces and ocean currents were manipulated to create natural interference with alien sensors. Submarines and underwater teams moved unseen, disrupting attempted strikes and relaying intelligence. Even wildlife, guided by humans and responding to environmental shifts, played a role in creating confusion and diversions. Across continents, humanity's defense was not a single force but a network of minds, hands, and instincts all working in harmony with the planet itself. The Deathworlders had become a force that no alien could easily predict, control, or defeat. The battle reached a critical point when the Zerath attempted a concentrated assault on multiple nodes simultaneously. They hoped to break human defenses with speed and strength. Yet humans had anticipated this possibility. Squads were ready at each location, shields amplified, terrain manipulated, and traps set. As the alien ships approached, humans struck from hidden positions. Energy pulses from the nodes disrupted alien targeting. Volcanic vents, sandstorms, and magnetic anomalies created unpredictable hazards. Every step the Zerath took was countered by human adaptation. Ships faltered, shields failed, and drones were misled. For the first time in their history, the Zerath realized that Earth was unconquerable by conventional means. Captain Zorath, watching the chaos unfold, sighed heavily. They do not plead. They do not flee. They endure everything we throw at them and find ways to turn it to their advantage. This is not a species to conquer. It is a force to respect. By the time the sun rose over the horizon, the Zerath fleet had been forced into retreat in multiple regions. Scout ships limped back to larger vessels, their energy systems disrupted. Patrols hesitated, and the humans, having used every resource at their disposal, observed the fleet with calm determination. They had not won completely, but they had proven something crucial. They could survive, resist, and fight back against the most advanced force in the galaxy. Across Earth, celebrations were quiet but meaningful. Engineers checked energy nodes, soldiers shared experiences of successful maneuvers, and civilians learned from the victories. The planet had defended itself, not with raw firepower, but with ingenuity, unity, and adaptation. Captain Zorath, aboard the Eclipsar, stared at the planet below. He had underestimated humanity, and now he knew the truth. Earth was no ordinary planet. Its inhabitants were no ordinary species. The Deathworlders were awake, alert, and ready, and as humans prepared for the next phase, they did so with confidence. They knew the planet had their back, the energy nodes provided power, and their instincts were sharper than ever. The battle for Earth was not yet over, but the message had been sent. Humans did not plead, they did not surrender, and they would endure at any cost. The dawn of a new day stretched across Earth, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and crimson. The Zerath fleet lingered at the edge of orbit, their enormous ships casting long shadows over the recovering cities and landscapes below. They had faced defeat after successive skirmishes and strategic failures, and their confidence was shaken. The humans, the so-called primitive species, had demonstrated resilience, intelligence, and adaptability beyond anything the aliens had expected. On the ground, humanity moved with calm purpose. Engineers checked energy nodes, ensuring that the amplifiers and shields remained functional. Soldiers patrolled strategic points not for fear, but to maintain coordination and readiness. Scientists continued to study alien technology, seeking ways to improve defenses and prepare for any possible return. The victory was not just in surviving. It was in demonstrating that Earth's Deathworlders could fight back and win. Captain Zorath aboard the Eclipser watched the planet below with a mixture of awe and frustration. They adapt faster than any species we have encountered. They anticipate, they endure, and they turn our actions against us. I underestimated them. A counselor spoke hesitantly. They are still primitive. How can such a fragile species hold against us? Zorath shook his head. Fragile? Perhaps in appearance. But the planet itself has forged them into something extraordinary. They are not weak, they are Deathworlders, and their survival instinct is unlike anything we have seen. The council fell silent, knowing that the next decision would be crucial. Any misstep could leave their fleet vulnerable. But even more alarming was the realization that the humans' ingenuity could not be measured in conventional terms. Earth had become a fortress, and its inhabitants had turned survival into a weapon. Across continents, humans worked to consolidate their gains. In the volcanic regions, energy nodes continued to amplify protective shields. In forests and jungles, hidden observation posts remained active, ready to track any alien movement. Deserts and mountains were mapped meticulously, with traps and diversions prepared for any future attack. Humanity had learned to merge technology with natural forces, turning the environment itself into an extension of their strategy. Civilians contributed alongside military personnel. Farmers guided patrols across safe routes, teaching them to use the terrain to their advantage. Teachers and students mapped hazard zones and evacuation points. Engineers and scientists improved energy nodes and shields, experimenting with ways to enhance their effectiveness. Humanity was not only surviving, they were thriving, using intelligence, adaptability, and collaboration as their greatest weapons. The Zereth fleet attempted a final, concentrated assault, hoping to overwhelm human defenses with sheer numbers and energy firepower. Ships descended toward the largest energy nodes, aiming to destroy the amplifiers and remove the humans' advantage. Yet the humans were prepared. Squads positioned around the nodes activated shields amplified by the crystalline formations, creating protective zones that nullified alien energy weapons. Engineers had rigged terrain traps along likely approach paths, using volcanic vents, rivers, and magnetic anomalies to disrupt ship navigation. Soldiers moved with precision, striking at weak points while remaining shielded by natural and artificial barriers. The first wave of ships faltered immediately. Energy beams scattered harmlessly against amplified shields. Turbulent winds, sandstorms, and volcanic steam diverted sensors. One by one, the alien vessels were forced to hover or retreat. The humans did not pursue recklessly. They observed, adapted, and coordinated every movement, ensuring maximum efficiency and minimal risk. In coastal regions, naval teams coordinated with oceanographers to manipulate currents and tides. Submarines and underwater drones created interference with alien sensors, while surface teams monitored energy readings, adjusting shields and diversions in real time. Even wildlife guided by humans and responding to environmental shifts played a subtle role in confusing enemy patrols. The entire planet had become a living, reactive defense system, and the humans were its coordinators. Captain Zorath realized with a sinking feeling that the humans' victory was not only possible, it was inevitable unless the Zerath retreated. Their survival instinct? It is a weapon. Their planet is a fortress, and they do not plead. They do not fear. We cannot fight this with brute force. The turning point came in the volcanic region, where the largest energy node amplified human shields to unprecedented levels. The humans coordinated a complex series of maneuvers, guiding alien ships into zones of disruption created by natural hazards and amplified energy pulses. Ships faltered in midair, sensors failed, and communications became erratic. The Zereth, for the first time, were truly vulnerable. On the ground, humans observed with calm intensity. They had planned for this using the lessons learned from weeks of adaptation. Scientists monitored energy outputs, engineers adjusted shields, and soldiers prepared for rapid response if needed. Yet no reckless action was necessary. The planet itself, combined with human ingenuity, was sufficient to repel the alien assault. By the end of the day, the Zerath had withdrawn from multiple regions. Scout ships limped back to the fleet, some damaged, others disabled. The humans, though exhausted, celebrated quietly. Victory had not been achieved through sheer firepower. It had been achieved through intelligence, coordination, and the unyielding drive to survive. Across Earth, news spread rapidly. Communities shared stories of the battles, of coordinated defenses, and of ingenious tactics that had neutralized the alien fleet. There were no false boasts. Every victory was measured, calculated, and observed. Yet the morale boost was undeniable. Humanity had faced a technologically superior species and emerged victorious. In the cities, engineers worked to repair and strengthen energy nodes. Scientists continued studying alien technology, seeking ways to learn and improve. Soldiers and civilians alike took stock of the lessons learned, understanding that survival depended on adaptability, cooperation, and awareness of the planet itself. Children learned the stories of the battle not as fearsome tales, but as lessons in resilience, courage, and ingenuity. Elders shared knowledge passed down through generations, connecting survival in harsh climates to the skills that had now repelled the galaxy's most advanced force. Humanity had transformed its history of endurance into a strategic advantage, and the lessons would guide future generations. Captain Zorath convened a final council aboard the Eclipsar. The fleet had been beaten in multiple theaters of conflict and morale was low. "We underestimated them," he admitted plainly. "Their strength is not in weapons but in their will to survive, their intelligence, and the planet that supports them. We cannot conquer this species. Any attempt will cost us everything." The counselors were silent, acknowledging the truth. Earth was no longer a simple planet to conquer. It was a fortress, and its inhabitants were Deathworlders, creatures of unparalleled resilience shaped by the harshest conditions imaginable. To fight them without careful strategy would be folly. Back on Earth, humans began to plan for the future. The alien threat had been repelled, but the lessons learned would guide them for generations. The planet's energy nodes were carefully monitored and maintained. Hidden tunnels, caves, and observation posts were preserved. Communities remained vigilant, understanding that survival depended on awareness, preparation, and adaptation. But humanity also looked outward. The victories against the Zerath had shown that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, and leaders. The galaxy could no longer view Earth as a primitive world. Humans had proven that they could endure, adapt, and fight back even against overwhelming odds. Exploration initiatives began once again, this time with confidence. Scientists and engineers prepared to study nearby star systems, learn from other species, and expand human influence without fear. Humanity had not only survived, they had earned a place in the wider galaxy as a species capable of enduring and thriving under the harshest conditions. The Zerath fleet, retreating beyond orbit, looked back at Earth with a mixture of respect and caution. They had underestimated the humans, and the lesson would not be forgotten. Earth's Deathworlders did not plead. They did not beg for mercy. They endured, adapted, and triumphed. Any future encounter would require caution, strategy, and understanding of a species that could survive anything and thrive against all odds. Captain Zorath, watching the planet from orbit, finally spoke aloud. "They do not fear. They do not surrender. They endure, and they will not be defeated easily. This is not a world to conquer. This is a world to respect." As the sun set across continents, humans gathered quietly in homes, schools, and community centers. Stories of endurance, ingenuity, and courage were shared. Children learned that survival was more than instinct. It was intelligence, adaptation, and cooperation. Adults reflected on the victories and prepared for the future. Every human, whether soldier, scientist, or civilian, understood the truth. Their planet had shaped them into a species unlike any other. Earth had become more than a planet. It was a symbol, a reminder to the galaxy that survival, intelligence, and adaptation could overcome even the most advanced forces. Humans had transformed from inhabitants of a harsh world into defenders, innovators, and future explorers. And as the stars glimmered,